September 19, 2014, a date I will never forget. This date changed my life forever. It had rained all week, and that Friday morning wasn't the exception. Rain, rain, go away, come again another day. I repeated in my head over and over again as I looked out the window. 1,000 thoughts run through my head in the hours to come. I have never been so nervous in my life. I kept looking at the clock as it moved slower and slower. 11 a.m., 11:15, 11:30, 11:35, 11:36. I finally decided to turn that clock around and try and get some rest. I was going to need a lot of energy later that day. No more rain. It was 2 o'clock, so I knew I had to get ready. In my bed, I had laid out the clothes I was gonna wear. I picked my clothes and got dressed. I was looking good. Gustavo, my best friend, picked me up around 3:30 p.m. and we were on our way. We arrived around 20 minutes later to our destination. I had arrived at my wedding. My mother greeted me at the front door of the church. She put on my boutonniere, gave me la bendición, and together we walked in. Her family, the groomsmen, and bridesmaids greeted me as well. After a few minutes, we were ready to start the ceremony. As I walked down the aisle with my parents, I looked up and said, "Thank you, Lord." In pairs, the groomsmen and bridesmaids walked down the aisle to the altar. Then the ring bearers, the flower girls, followed by her grandmother and brother-in-law. Finally, I heard the piano being played by her nephew. As she walked down the aisle, I started to do something I told myself I wouldn't do. I started crying. That was the first time I had seen her that day, and was the most beautiful I have ever seen her. She looked stunning in her dress that was made in the Philippines. The ceremony was a traditional Catholic ceremony. My favorite part was hearing, "You may kiss the bride." I flipped the veil up with style and gave her our first kiss as Mr. and Mrs. Sanchez. Our reception was held at the Grand Magnolia Ballroom. We incorporated Mexican, American, and Filipino traditions in our celebration. Everyone enjoyed dinner. Before we opened the dance floor, my wife and her father had the father and daughter dance. My mother and me followed with the mother and son dance. After I danced with my mother, my wife and me had our first dance as married couple. The dance floor was officially opened. The music was stopped and the announcement was made. Please join us in the dance floor for La Víbora de la Mar. After La Víbora de la Mar, we resumed the dancing and partying. After a while, we stopped the music again. It was time for the tossing of the bouquet. My favorite part, the tossing of the garter. It is a Mexican tradition for the groom to get tossed up into the air. So up I went, each toss higher and higher. Once I was grounded, we resumed the party. Around 11:40, Franklin Street was filled with cop cars. The club downstairs got raided and the party was over. September 19, 2014, a night I will never forget. That is the day my wife and me became one.